Hi friends, and welcome to this week's episode of RyAn the Show. I'm Ryan, by the way. Nice to meet you. In this episode I will not be using my fake microphone, so I hope you can hear me okay. One of the things I want to talk about is one of my favorite things to do, and it's basically whenever I'm waiting in line, or whenever I'm waiting for a light to turn at the corner on the street. I like to stand like this. And when I do it, it makes me feel very heroic and very cool. And I realize not a lot of guys do it. And it's not because they lack the confidence that I possess, or that, they just simply don't have my sense of security. It's because it looks very wimpy. And the reason that is because when one such as myself stands like this, you'll notice it accentuates the thinness of the arm by holding it away from the bulk of the torso, and kind of makes you look like a bit of a sis. So I guess that's why not a lot of guys do it. I myself have never been a very masculine person. I guess if you're a psychologist, you could chalk it up to the fact that I never had a father growing up. Boo! But I think I'm alright. I hope I turned out okay. I don't have any regrets. But the reason I bring this up is because I'm living with a lady now. Thank you. And she has this cat that just hates the shit out of me. Like, this thing just, every pore of its essence just reeks with loathing for everything to do with this right here. And I'm not sure if it's the fact that I'm sleeping in the bed now and he used to sleep in the bed, so he thinks I'm cat blocking him. I'm not very sure, but he just hisses and growls, and like his growl is like, it echoes. Like, I'm very sure that this thing is like half cougar. I mean, it's a 20-pound cat. This is a huge cat. Like, I'm pretty sure she found this at the top of a mountain. This was no alley cat. But it's a little frightening when this thing goes off. And one of the things that it does that I think is just amazing is that whenever it feels particularly confronted by me, it will stick its rear end up in the air at me, like so, woo, and it will just poop, just right at me. And I'm pretty sure if it could projectile shat, it would just shit right into my face and mouth area. And I'm very sure that's what the cat's thinking, but he's like, this is the best I can do, so here you go, just poop, I'll leave you to clean that up later. And I'm just thinking, like, what kind of defense mechanism is that, Like, I can't think of any animal in the wild, upon being confronted by a predator or anything, would just poop at it, Like, can you imagine, like, a cheetah chasing a little gazelle? By the way, I'm not even sure if cheetahs and gazelles are in the same region. But the gazelle's like being cornered and it just poops at the cheetah, and the cheetah's like, dude, no, that is gross, man, not cool, and the cheetah just leaves, Like, I can't imagine that being the case. But I was reflecting on it for a while, and I was thinking about my own life personally, and it turns out that I do empathize with this cat very much. I myself have been in 2 fights my whole life. The first one was in high school. I was coming back from a party I went to. I was very, very drunk. I was very, very stoned. I really, really had to pee a lot. And as I was looking for a place to pee, I noticed that there were these 4 guys approaching from behind. And I'm pretty sure at least one of the guys was like, hey, there's a douchebag. You want to go pounce him? And the other guys are like, okay, boss. And so that's what ended up happening. The funny thing is that this was his opening line. He came up to me and he says, hey, you talking shit? Like, as if I was going to turn around and be like, yeah, man, what are you going to do about it? Like, so I don't know what his thought process was there, but I just like, fuck you, dude. And I just kept walking, turned my back on him, which is, by the way, exactly what you're not supposed to do. So he comes on me. He doesn't come on me like in a gay way. But I realize that whenever you're in a fight, there's a certain threshold that you have to cross. And you go beyond the point of just talking, and maybe there's even some shoving and pushing, and the chest puffing and the machismo and all that. And there's a point that you cross where it's no longer all talk, where there's an official, we are now engaged in combat. And I'm sure you know, as when you've been in your many fights, that it's a very thrilling experience, and it takes a lot of adrenaline to build up to that point. And so we get to that point, and, you know, he throws the first blow, and so I'm just like, okay, and we're just kind of going at it like this. I'm just like, I feel like a Muppet from Fraggle Rock, just flailing my arms all over the place. All of a sudden I feel a presence from behind me, so I'm just like doing one of these, you know, like thinking that's gonna work. And then all of a sudden I feel like a third energy over here. It's like some big fat guy, and I'm just like doing one of these, just like flailing and gesticulating and not even really knowing what blows are landing where. I'm like looking at the floor the whole time. I'm not even like focused on what's going on. Just going nuts, man. And then I feel a fourth guy over here, and I'm just like, alright, man, I'm not going to Chuck Norris my way out of this one, right? So I just start running. And as I'm running, I notice that I have completely and entirely evacuated all of my bladder into my pants. And it was kind of embarrassing. And I was thinking about it later that night, and I was like, well, you know, I did really, really have to pee a lot, and I was really drunk, and he did punch me in the bladder, so I'll just leave it to that, you know? But the second time I was in a fight, I didn't even have to pee. In fact, I had just come back from peeing when this guy engaged me. And it was at a mini golf course of all places. The guy turned out to be some ex-cop. But we start going at it. It ends in seconds. Same exact thing happens. All of my bladder just soaked into my pants. Urine that I didn't even know that I had in there was just all the way from my knees up to my crotch. And it was over in seconds. He was on the ground. My head was bleeding because apparently his wife had struck me in the head with a golf club. Now I'm going to court about it. Anyways, I realized after that I guess I did have a lot in common with this cat, because in order to cross that threshold, you have to bring in that battle energy. And for guys like me that don't have that energy, you got to bring it in from somewhere. And when you bring it in from somewhere, you got to make room for it. So everything that's down there has to go. Apparently. So that's my story. I hope you learned something from it. The cat and I are getting along very well now. We do bond. It's awesome. And I hope you tune in next week, because I don't have like a good reason, but I just hope you do. I want you to, and I hope you'll let me